The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to the Scottish Football Social Club on a Monday night, live again on Premier Sports, on X, on YouTube as well, in association with McBookie as we head into the international break. And that's when most players and pundits get a break, but not this lot. For your sins, you get to go again with Michael and Alan on a Monday evening. And delighted to tell you that big Johan Mjällby is back with us as well. Any mention of Kilmarnock v Celtic and Rugby Park, Johan, it just brings back the memories for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, nice memories in a way, even if we didn't win that. When I was assistant to Neil Lennon, and it was the start of our 4-year tenure there, we were... didn't really have any good result at the start of the season. We were 3-0 down half-time against Kilmarnock, and we were feeling the pressure a wee bit. So Neil had a really good team talk in half-time there, and actually we turned it around. We managed to get a draw 3-3, and after that we actually didn't look back, and we won the league.
And I think you actually won it.
That was a nice one.
Yeah,
I have a sore one as well, though. I lost the league once at Rugby Park, despite winning 4-0 against Kilmarnock. But Rangers beat some other team with 6-1. I can't believe that. There must have been something, strange about that.
If you're worried about that result, just phone Chris Sutton. He'll tell you all about it. He'll still be moaning Johan, let me tell you.
Yes.
I think you actually, that season, you talk about that 3-0 down at half-time, though, from memory, you turned it all around on the day, and then later in the season, you actually lifted the trophy back at Rugby Park. So what did Lenny say in that half-time team?
I would love to have been there.
How many words can you actually say on a Monday Night Live?
I think people would probably expect him to be raging and really, really angry. But he was clever that day because, you guys know, as a player, 3-0 down, you know that you haven't done particularly well. The pressure is on. What can you do? But he asked the players, do they want to play for him? Do they want him to still be in the job? Actually, after 90 minutes there. So, and they stepped up half-time. The last 45 minutes, second half, we played really excellent, really well, and we punished them, time after time. And we got back to 3 each, which was a massive result, for us and confidence-wise as well, for the players. So, and luckily, end of the season, we obviously lifted the trophy back there at Rugby Park here.
I've got vague memories of you winning as a player there as well in 2004. But anyway, that's going way back, Johan, way back. Let's not go there. Michael, any nice memories? Any nice memories of Rugby Park?
I just played on grass. Yeah.
How good was it though? It was one of the best pitches ever.
It was brilliant. Yeah, it was a great grass park. Yeah, but don't know when that will happen again, unfortunately.
Well,
seems like it's delayed.
Yeah, there was a few teams that would like grass right now, I think, Alan, but it has been delayed for a while. This is your local team, isn't it now, Alan? You support Kilmarnock as well, don't you?
His team.
Well, I've got...
you were supporting them yesterday, I'll tell you that.
Oh, absolutely. I had the scarves out. No, I'm only joking. My brother-in-law, he's season ticket holder, like a lot of the family members and stuff, so I like to see them doing well. Worked with, obviously, Derek McInnes. I like to see them doing well, of course.
Well, they did well yesterday, Johan, in everything but the result, if you like. They played really well against Celtic, didn't they, Kilmarnock? But sometimes, after a big win in the Champions League, Johan, you just need to get the job done. Celtic did that, didn't they?
They did. I have to say, I need to give a lot of credit to Kilmarnock, though. They really took the game to Celtic. And they were aggressive, and they created a lot of chances. But, and the big but is, you have to, if you play Celtic, you have to take care of your goal opportunities, your chances. They didn't. And then, Celtic is always going to punish teams, if they still have a chance. And then Niklas Kuhn, again, with his second goal. This was a wee bit of a fluke, I think. It's a great ball in from Callum, who didn't really get into the game. That's why I think Derek McInnes really had a good game plan, because in Celtic's build-up play, they man-marked Callum McGregor, to try to make sure he didn't get on the ball, But, it's difficult for a goalkeeper here when you have a striker just coming in, You expecting maybe him to get a touch and a flick, But still, that was a loose goal for Kilmarnock to concede, after doing so well in the first half.
What about Niklas Kuhn? This is Michael Stewart's favourite player, by the way, Johan. I hear Michael shouting, hit the byline, put the ball across. But no. Nicholas Kuhn's got different ideas.
Yeah, he's on fire. He's so explosive, and he's doing so well. And this is just a brilliant round. And, you can see Kyogo, he expected him to get a pass, but why should he, Niklas Kuhn is on fire. He has scores and goals as easy as Kyogo nowadays. No, but like you say, I think Celtic showed a lot of strength here. They weren't at their best. They weren't at the races to start with. They didn't get going. Credit to Kilmarnock, but they showed, their champion stuff, by getting the 3 points and a clean sheet as well, again.
The type of game, Michael, I think you look back on at the end of the season, if you've won the title, and you sort of pinpoint, that was a tough week for Celtic, a demanding midweek fixture as well. So to come through it with 3 points, where maybe in the past they wouldn't have registered them necessarily, it was big, wasn't it?
Right, well, I mean, the manager said it himself. A year ago, he said perhaps that game doesn't go their way. And I think he's right. I mean, Celtic are just they're in a great place at the moment. The evolution of the team in Europe is there for everybody to see. And the form at home is obviously, it's only been matched by Aberdeen, who are, incredible run of form. But we saw what happened when it went head to head in the cup last week. So, I mean, look, from Celtic's perspective, absolutely big game in Europe, great result, come off the back of it. They knew going to Kilmarnock that it wasn't going to be easy, because as much as Kilmarnock have been stop-start this season, the last little spell, it has been more like the Kilmarnock we've sort of become accustomed to with Derek McInnes. And as Johan was talking about there, they credit to them, because that could easily have gone the other way. But, and Johan's spot on, when you're playing against the top teams, you have to take your chances. Otherwise, that at some point in the game, they're going to get a chance, and invariably, they take them. And then you're really fighting an uphill battle at that point.
Alan, agreed?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel for Kilmarnock. I think they put everything into it, but it's the difference between the two sides and where they're at this moment in time, being clinical. When Celtic get those opportunities, they're always going to take them. Kilmarnock had really good efforts, if you want. I thought Schmeichel played really well within the goal. He had a lot of big saves. So, look, unlucky, but ultimately you need to take your chances to win these games.
Schmeichel seems to be a really astute signing for Celtic. They needed to fill that position with a bit of experience, Johan. They've done that, replacing Joe Hart. He's a real team leader now. But I just want to take you back to Nicholas Kuhn, if that's okay, Johan, because there's interest apparently already in him. January interest, if you believe the press, from Brentford and from other teams as well.
Premier League, apparently, Alan. If you go by the headlines, I don't know if you get them down in Ayrshire, but if you go by the headlines, there's Premier League interest as well. I don't think Michael gets them.
No, he doesn't. He's still coming around to the idea that Nicholas Kuhn is a multi.
Johan's going to be wondering what on earth are you two slavering about?
Right, hold on, I'm getting to it. Let me get to it. Johan, what I'm wondering is, how important is it, given, by the way, that these Champions League games continue into January, and it's looking very, very good for Celtic to go beyond January in this Champions League competition, to hold on to Nicholas Kuhn throughout this season? And what kind of bid, Johan, would it take to get him out in January?
No, I'm pretty sure they will. They will do everything to keep him. He's on fire. He's in good form, and in a way, he's like a new signing this summer.
Exactly.
When he arrived, he arrived for the first 6 months. He was stop and start for him. He had this tooth problem as well. So he didn't really show what he was all about. And now he's doing so well. And he's perfect in the way Brendan Rodgers wants his team to play as well. So no, it's not going to happen. I'm telling you guys, it's not going to happen. Maybe if they come in for a ridiculous bid for. We're talking about Matt O'Reilly figures. Then they might be tempted, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen next summer.
Michael, what's his value, Michael, for the player that you want?
This is going to be brilliant.
Well, look, I am quite comfortable.
Are you sticking to it?
I'm quite comfortable agreeing with what Johan said there in terms of this is a new signing in the summer, because last year there is no danger anybody would have predicted that this is the sort of player that we would have been seeing. There's just no chance. He's been a completely different player. And I'm quite happy to hold my hands up and say, I got it wrong, 100%.
Oh, here we go.
I did not see this form coming from Nicholas Kuhn. No chance.
Listen, just while we've got you on a roll here, is there anything else you want to admit you've got wrong down the years?
Oh, we'll be here all night. Let's just leave it there. Come on. Time.
No,
Or even last week.
No, there's nothing else that springs to mind. No. But look, in a large part, and look, you could hear. I think it was Joe Hart that was talking about in commentary, saying that Brendan Rodgers used to be saying at halftime, "Nicholas shows what you're about," and that wasn't in terms of putting an arm around the shoulder and trying to cajole him. That was more along the lines of what Johan was saying with Neil Lennon. It was putting it out to the players to say, "Come on, show me what you've got." And he has. He's stepped up to the plate this season. He's coming up with goals. He's coming up with assists. And I'm not being funny, but what I've been harping on about for a long time in terms of not cutting inside all the time, driving to the byline occasionally, he has got that now. He's mixing his game up and he's got an end product. So
it's amazing how this has just happened in the last couple of weeks. He started doing that and you're off the fence with it.
He's a big fan of the show, actually, Alan, and I'm sure he's obviously listened carefully to what Michael's
and to answer your question, what sort of bid? Again, I'm with Johan. I don't think, regardless of the bid, I don't think they're selling them in January. Because if you look at what happened with Matt O'Reilly as well, there was big bids that came in the January. It was like, no, it would wait until the summer. So regardless of what the bid was, unless it was something ludicrous, which I just don't see happening, you're talking about 30 million plus, which isn't going to happen.
No.
If it was around about the 20 odd, I would imagine come the summer, they would maybe think about it. But even if it was 20 odd in January, I don't think Celtic would entertain it because they're going to be right on the cusp of the Champions League at this point.
Listen, if they keep going the way they're going, Michael, they could qualify automatically. If you look at the fixtures they've got to come as well, Dinamo Zagreb, Club Brugge in their next young boys, they've got winnable games. Yep. So who knows? They can shoot for the stars. And I think you're absolutely right. Brendan Rodgers keeps talking about building this team for the Champions League to have a real go at it. So he's hardly going to want the board to sell in January when they're in the thick of it at the moment. I was just
going to say, he'll be looking to recruit.
Yes.
Strengthen.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, the Celtic's bank balance is pretty good at the moment.
You don't need to remind Alan again. He knows the financial figures.
I'm not getting involved in that sort of
I had to rub it in a wee bit.
No.
I'll tell you one thing you can get involved in, Alan, if you like. Were Celtic lucky to finish the game with 10 men? Should we have a look?
Yeah.
Lucky to finish with 10 men?
If you look at that tackle, I think it's very high. Well, I don't think there's real force in it. I don't think he's went to go and hurt him or anything like that, but I think just the height that the tackle is at, if you just see here, I mean, I know the pictures when it's slowed down and you see it there, it looks like it's really aggressive, and I just think because of the height of it, he still caught him, and for me it's a red card.
I think did I leave out the not there, Michael?
Yeah, you did.
Lucky not to finish the game.
I knew what you meant.
Michael, what do you think?
Well, so you're admitting you were wrong, Darryl, yeah?
Oh, listen, I'm a very honest TV presenter. Usually, when I got something wrong, I just hold my hand up, Michael, and I go straight. Okay. It doesn't usually take me a season and a half. Here's a question coming in from Stacey Devlin, who's a good fan of the show, I believe. Good to see that Stacey's watching live tonight. I can also see Celtic going unbeaten again this season if we can keep all our players fit and not get injured. The way it's going at the moment, and given what happened in the Premier Sports Cup semi-final, Johan, you almost dare not say it yet at this time of the season, but why not the way Celtic are? And as you say, this team could get stronger and stronger.
Mm-hmm. Of course, they can go unbeaten, but that's a pretty tough task. We have to remember, though, if they qualify, for the playoffs in the Champions League and go really far in the tournament, then the bread and butter is always going to be the league, so it's going to be important that they do the business there. But if they open up in league and they're still in the Champions League later on, or start of next year, then they might, take the eye off a wee bit, So it's going to be pretty tough for them to go unbeaten. But that they're going to win the league, no question whatsoever.
I assume that Stacey was just talking about domestic, by the way. I mean, she might have been dreaming of going all the way in the Champions League as well, but you never know.
They've already been beaten in Europe, so that would be a wee bit of a snooker.
It's a great point, Michael. It's a great point. There's another one. I'll just hold my hand up.
Put your hand up again, Darryl. Hand up.
I don't think it's one of those things that, as players, and Brendan Rodgers himself will be really bothered about, as long as they win trophies at the end of the day. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And if they can rest and rotate if they're still in the Champions League, then that's exactly what they'll do.
You'd imagine so. But regardless, Johan, what a week for Celtic and Brendan Rodgers again. Was definitely the league guy. Stacey's just confirming. Michael's right. That Borussia Dortmund 7 slipped my mind there for just a moment, Stacey. At the moment, though, Johan, everything's going so well. And that has been a phenomenal week, hasn't it, for the club, for Brendan Rodgers? Because Leipzig was outstanding the way they took the game to them.
They were outstanding, and something we probably expect from them, playing at home, regardless who they play in Champions League, that they're going to have a chance to get a win and 3 points. I was more impressed by the point in Atalanta because even
Spoken
if
like a true defender here, he loves the
Rodgers will never say that he's going to park the bus, but they had to a certain degree against a really strong team, and after the embarrassing defeat in a way against Dortmund. It's not embarrassing to lose to Dortmund, but 7-1 was a wee bit of a stretch, and something that's never nice as a coach or as a player. It's all about the reaction and the way they have reacted since then. It's really, really impressive, and they've been outstanding, and everything is going in the right. In the right way at the moment from Brendan and the players, but we expect them to, especially at home, to always have a chance against the big guns, and domestically they will always force the issue and force the game, because that's just the way Brendan wants to play his football.
Yeah, fully agreed.
I was just going to say that, when you look at the Champions League now for Celtic, it's got to the position where you hear obviously and you think about the game against Leipzig that was there. Forgetting about Bratislava, because I think any year up against Bratislava, you would still feel like Celtic should be beating them. But I think we've now got to the place where it feels like Celtic should have been for a number of years, but they haven't been, is competitive against, good teams at home. You felt like going into that Leipzig game, you're like, look, this is a top Bundesliga side, sitting second in the league, but you're thinking Celtic can compete, and then to see them going out and actually executing that, it's great to see. But it feels, when you look back to even Lazio last season wasn't a million miles away, but it just felt they were constantly coming on the wrong side of a big moment or a poor decision, and I mean player-wise, poor decision making, and just this constant narrative of can't do it in the Champions League. And I think it became a bit of a psychological barrier, but it's great to see this season they are at a stage where, Rangers had it in the Europa League. They're cutting up, a number of seasons ago when they got to the final. They're coming up against top teams, but you genuinely believe, look, they can compete. And it's good to see another one of the Scottish sides doing it. And now, obviously, the benefit is the coefficient's starting to creep back up. We're not a million miles away from getting into that top 12, I think it is again.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so important to get the 3 teams guaranteed in the group stage. So hopefully, over the course of the season, they can get, the Scotland back up to the 12th spot at least.
Yeah, and on Celtic, I think, I know we'll need to move on in a sec, Johan, but the defence makes such a difference as well. Another option at left back, but Trusty coming in. I mean, Scales can fit back in at Rugby Park, but having those options and having reliable players who seem to be able to adapt and go at the top level now, is that maybe the biggest difference from last season, you think?
It is for me. I do think they are better balanced and they control the game more this season. And that's why, because let's face it, they've always been good at pressing. Every Brendan Rodgers team is always going to be good at pressing, being very, energetic and aggressive and full of running. But defensively, I always been a bit worried, especially when they play in Champions League, when really, really skillful players and teams are going to find the gaps. But I think they learned a lesson against Dortmund. They took a wee bit of gamble and tried to play the normal football then, and they were punished. But with Trusty, because we were waiting to see why did they sign him? When is he going to move in and play? In fairness, Liam Scales has done really, really well. But with Trusty, you get a more of an athletic defender. And I think that's very suitable, especially in Europe anyway. And it gives you another chance now to rest Carter Wickers a wee bit, because he's got his injury record a wee bit, He's going to miss a few games here and there. So now they get a chance to rotate and rest him, for the big games.
Yeah,
You've
long
got-
journeys and
you-
international breaks don't help as well, of course, going over
No,
to play for
no,
the
of
States,
course
wherever
not.
they are. Trusty will be with them. Go on, Michael, last
I
one
was
then.
just going to say, the beauty about Trusty as well is obviously predominantly left-sided, but we've seen him with skills. He is comfortable enough to go and play on that right-hand side. So, look, Liam Scales has done brilliant. You would have no qualms with him, playing, because you look at him and Trusty playing together in Bergamo against Atalanta, and they were both outstanding.
Yeah.
But you've got to say that as good as Scales has been, it was the area where most people were looking at and saying, Celtic, if they could, upgrade in that position, it would be hugely beneficial for Europe. And at the moment, like Johan says, that athleticism from Trusty certainly suits that Celtic side and looks like it's going to help them in Europe.
My word, we're 20 minutes in. Let's press on, Alan. 3 points for Celtic, 3 points for Rangers. Were you comfortable at Ibrox?
Well, I wouldn't go as far to say comfortable. I thought in the first half they actually played really well. You see, we were speaking to Scotty Arfield about this. Was it last week?
Yes,
How
last week.
Raskin was more of a sitter, and I felt that Barron was getting further forward. But they played with a tempo. I thought they moved the ball quickly in the first half. You see your Tavernier getting on the end of it, and then Dessler's putting it in the back of the net. But after that, it just seemed...
stealing his goal.
I'm not sure if it was going in anyway, but I just felt it changed in the second half. Like this was right after half time. I think if Vargas puts this in, it starts to become very nervy, because you could hear the nervousness at times within the stadium. And the Hearts team, I felt fed off it. So if they could take one of their chances, it could have been a different game. But again, Rangers, they just got through it. It's another one of those games where you expect them to just go and put their foot down, go and get 2 or 3 and have done with it. But they just don't play that way at this moment in time. You always feel that there's a little bit of nervousness in the team, and it's really affecting them. So, look, Hearts played well second half. I thought Rangers done well in the first half, especially off the back of a real good performance on Thursday against Olympiacos. So, look, 3 points is the main thing, but performances have to be better.
I think it's worth remembering that, Michael, isn't it? It was a tough trip on Thursday night. You do, just like Celtic, we said you have to win these games if you want to make progress in the league, and Rangers did. We'll come back to Hearts in a second, but Michael, are you convinced, because we've been talking about Philip Clement a lot, are you convinced, as much as he is, he's 200% convinced, by the way, that Rangers are heading in the right direction? What kind of percentage would you say you're at?
I mean, look, I think there is improvement, but it's all about, the speed of that improvement and what is the actual potential of the team. I don't see them in any way, shape or form being able to go and compete with Celtic.
No, they won't.
The big challenge is, are they going to be able to catch Aberdeen? And that is the real interesting storyline that's going to play out over this course of this season. I'd push back slightly on what I was saying, by the way, about it was a good first half performance. I'd say 15 minutes. Yeah. And then from about 15 minutes on, Hearts were the better side without really troubling Jack Butland, where they were controlling the possession, they were moving it about well, they were working it well into the final third, but the end product was poor. Rangers were passive and have been for so much of the season. The first, I was talking about it in commentary that they had to start quickly to try and get the support on board. And they did that brilliantly, scored inside for 5 minutes. And you look at the goal, it's that quick 1 and 2 touch football, running off the ball. But then it dissipated. It wasn't there. 15 minutes maximum. And then it was a ponderous, like it's been before. So, when you talk about improvements, the biggest and most important thing is Rangers win games and build momentum like that. And Scott Arfield, I thought, he made a great point last week, and I took it on board, and I was thinking about it in terms of, I'm still questioning the character of, a lot of the team. Are they intense enough? But if you can pick up enough results, you can maybe carry them along with you. But my concern for Rangers is that have they got enough leaders? Like, we've all been in changing rooms where you're looking around and you're going, good guy, and you're not sure about a few others. But as long as you've got...
A bit like this show.
I know. Yeah. Good guy. Yeah.
But we've always known that, Michael. That's always been the case. Do you know, Michael, we've spoken about that enough times, that's always been the issue with the players that have left the club. And for me, they've not been replaced. That experience like
It's
all
not
that
just-
sort of thing.
It's not just that, Al. I look at the way Rangers play, and they don't play with the same intensity that Celtic or even Aberdeen do. They don't
Why do you
have
think that is, though? Because they don't
That's
have the
type-
confidence to go and do it.
It's not just confidence; it's types of players. I don't think you'll ever.
But you need
see
that. You need that confident squad, though, Michael.
Yeah.
Like, you think about it, like if you could be one of the best players, but if your confidence is rock bottom, Rashford, for an example, he's not going to play to that level.
But he's
So
not.
if you're
But he's not an intense type of player. So my point,
He can be.
but I'm very much along those lines. Bayrami is not a player who has got the intensity in his game. He just doesn't have it. So
It doesn't look like it, Michael, but you would have said the same about Cherney when he first joined, and he's picked up a bit more fitness and improving. So you never know; things can change.
But you can see with Cherney, and he is getting better. He really is. He's impressive. But no, I think you could see with Cherney that he had something. Whereas with Bayrami, you can see he's technically a nice player, but the game drifts by. The game
is he a 10 though? I guess
that's what I was going to
say.
say. If he puts him in there, but I get what Michael's saying. It does pass him by, and I think him being out wide, that sometimes it's allowed to happen because he's not that guy who's going to really go and get on it and make some. I would like to see him in that number 10. You've got the likes of Diamandi in there. I don't think that's his position. Like you've got like a midfielder that's going to get about and work hard in a creative role. I don't really see him being
while
that guy.
Lawrence is out, because Lawrence has often been a first pick when he's fit and available. So while he's out for a few weeks, Alan, maybe it is a chance to play Bayrami in the 10. We'll see what happens. Johan,
see on that point, though, Daryl, the thing that Scotty Arfield was talking about and what we've seen with Rangers is Raskin sitting. They're not playing with two sitters now. Raskin's sitting. Connor Barron's up. They're playing with 2 8s. So they're not playing with a number 10 at the moment. They're playing with Raskin sitting and 2 number 8s that are getting
But you
up.
wouldn't say they're outstanding creative players.
No, they're not.
To play in 2 offensive positions. Like if they're more creative players, then you're going to create more. I just don't think that's the type of player that they are.
But they need the balance. They need the balance, especially against some of the better European teams. So maybe that's why Barron's playing more of that role at the moment, because he does give them a bit of that. And you could hear, Johan, I will bring in a second, but you could hear the frustration of the fans, Alan, when Barron, who was fantastic, by the way, in Athens as well, was brought off. Here's a question in from Callum Clark. I would agree with Michael. He's one of the very few, by the way. It was 15 minutes, then it died away. It's not just the intensity. Building up guys for simple mistakes.
Darryl, what you need to remember is,
but
what you need to remember is I'm going to obviously stick up for Rangers a little bit. There's a lot of Celtic stuff there and a lot of positivity. I need to be positive at times, you know what I mean? So it can't always doom and gloom.
You've waited. You've been patient.
Can't always.
Alan, I can be positive as well. I watched the game.
What did you think, Johan? Genuinely, what did you think of Rangers, first of all?
No, but I find them a really funny team at the moment in the way that they seem to be a better fit for Europe, where they can soak up the pressure and they're not supposed to have that much possession. I agree with Michael. I find them very ponderous, very slow when it comes to their passing, and
I'm just taking rights and lefts, isn't I?
No.
No, I'm joking.
Listen to me. What I do think, though, is it's strange, and this is something that Philippe Clement needs to address. Against teams they should easily beat, especially at home, at Ibrox, they have to take the game by the scruff of the neck. They never do. They know how to win. There's no question of that, And they're quite a physical side as well. But they don't really, win easily. I shouldn't compare them with Celtic. They play a different way. But Celtic quite often, win by 3, 4, 5 when they get going. You very seldom see Rangers doing that.
Johan, but see, the thing is, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't know the style that they want to play. Like, see, when I'm sitting watching them, and you look at certain teams and you think, I just think a lot of time it can be off the cuff. It's like, can Cherney do something? Can Bayrami do something? Give the ball to them and see what happens. I don't really see, it's only recently that you've seen, Connor Barron get further forward more. So that's just a kind of recent thing for me. But I'm just I don't really watch those games and think, right, this is what I see.
I think that's a gripe for many of the fans as well, Alan. I think you're right. And I think the contrast, Michael, is... Do you want to make one more point on Rangers before I move on to Hearts?
Johan's absolutely spot on. That they don't dominate games. They don't blow teams away. They've only scored 16 goals in the league. St Johnstone have scored the same number of goals as them. And I'm just thinking that when I look at the league table, obviously, Aberdeen and Celtic have scored a barrel load more. Dundee United have scored more. St Mirren have scored more. Dundee have scored more, and St Johnstone have scored the same. That, and we're 11, 12 games in. That's quite damning for Rangers.
They've got a striker who misses many, and that's part.
And it's
of
not just him. I feel for him as well, though. Like, I get it. He should score more. He gets a lot of opportunities, and I get that. But it's a collective as well. Other people, not just Cherny, other people have to get in on that as well. Your midfielders, your creative wingers, everybody.
Yeah, you're right. But is Cyril Dessers good enough to lead a line of a team that's going to win the league? No.
At this moment in time, no. Like,
very
there's no
unlikely,
getting away from that. I get that. But Rangers are where they are. Like, we've spoken about it all season. Like, we understand they're not where they want to be, but unfortunately they are. So you have to deal with it. That's what
a brilliant goal midweek as well in Athens. You think last season as well, he has his moments. Was it Betis away? He scored a brilliant goal. You always think, is he going to kick on? But it hasn't. I know he's had some decent spells of goal scoring consistently, but he continues to miss big opportunities. And I think that's the point on him.
He's all-round game as well.
Yeah.
Darryl.
When he's off it like he was at Kilmarnock away, you're right, Michael. What does he offer the team when he's not on his game?
Look at Lawrence Shankland at the moment. He scored 1 goal this season. But see his all-round game. It's still there, His hold-up play is pretty good. His link-up play. Look at that through ball he plays for Vargas.
What would you prefer?
What?
Would you? So, like, if Dessers had 1 goal and his game was a little bit better and link-up, that would be better. No, he's there to score goals, Michael. Are you winding me up? Are you trying to compete here or what?
If Lawrence Shankland's available to Rangers in January, all the talk last season, he's out of contract. So if Rangers have to pay some sort of a fee to get him in January, would he make a difference in this Rangers team?
They should have done it before.
But what about now?
Well, of course I'd still take him, because you don't become a bad player overnight. But I've always stuck to not have Mike. I've always said he's getting in the right areas. He's probably just snatching at things a little bit. He feels that he needs to, as captain, be that guy. And it's just not quite happening for him. He is a good player. I would go and get him, yes, because I think in a Rangers team, he would score goals.
Darryl, is it about this time you ask him about the right back?
Here we go. You might as well just add that as well.
Back in the team. I'm not having anyone. You can't keep hammering the same people, okay? We've only got a finite audience. We can't afford to lose more, okay? Let's keep on going. Listen, we were talking about Rangers style, Michael, but one thing you can clearly see now at Hearts, I think, is the style under Neil Critchley. If they could have scored a goal against Heidenheim, what an opportunity they'd have had to go on to at least take something from that game. And they had big chances. And then the same at Ibrox. But the team look to be headed in a better direction now. And they look like they're good to watch, actually.
Yeah. But there's a massive but that comes along with that.
There is for now.
And that, so look, 100% agree. There's an identity, and you can see there's a system that's been worked. There's patterns of play. There's combinations amongst the players which just wasn't there before, but it's a massive, massive gaping hole in Hearts as a team that I struggle to see how you get past the issue of one pace. That's it. You need to add pace to the team. Otherwise, you have zero ability of being able to counter-attack teams, especially when you're talking about in Europe. They're about to go away to Cercle Bruges in Copenhagen, and you need pace in the team to be able to get somebody on the ball that can carry up the park, that can eliminate people 1v1. Hearts don't really have those players. They don't. And until you're able to do that, to complement and balance out with the other technical, nice players, you're constantly going to be putting extra pressure on, here's a chance, we need to score. And at the moment, unfortunately for them, they're not taking those chances.
The analytics will no doubt have identified players with pace who can come in January. I'm sure Neil Critchley has been looking ahead to that, Michael. Right, Johan, sorry, I've kept you
longer. You no working in the summer, like?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure it was there in the summer. Johan, just before we let you go, because I know you've got a glass of red waiting on a Monday night. It's a ritual for you. Just before you go, what about Aberdeen and Jimmy Tillin? After losing to Celtic the fashion they did, to bounce back and score 4 against Dundee, he keeps his head as a manager, doesn't he? This is very impressive.
No, definitely. I think a lot of doubters thought that, all right, here we go with Aberdeen. They were just lucky to have the start of the season, and now when they lost, heavily against the Celtic in the League Cup semi-final, then they're going to start losing games, and this is massive for them, because they weren't at the races in the first half, but a great penalty save from Mito. But then in the second half, I know they have a few injuries as well. They started to play the normal way, a few tweaks from Jimmy and the team, but with their confidence, you knew as soon as they get the first goal, if they get the goal, they're going to win the game, because they have this confidence now, the team. And Michael Allen knows how it is, when you have confidence in a team, it doesn't matter. It was all about the reaction from the heavy loss against Celtic. And they've showed us now they're going to be there at the top. They're not going to, surely they're going to, drop, have a wee dip in form maybe, for a few games here and there, over the course of the season. But they are a very, very good side. And it's refreshing to see, the way they play, and
see subs as well.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Again,
strength and depth. You're right, Johan. They missed a couple of players. Alan's spot on. Players that can come on, make a difference, that can come into this team.
But he does it at the right moments. He's done it multiple times. We've been there. We've watched the games, and he wants to get 3 points. He's done it at Celtic Park as well. He sees something. He wants to change it. He instantly does it. Doesn't matter what time of game it is, and it comes off for him. I don't mean comes off. That's as if it's just a bit of luck, but he means to do it, and then there you go. He gets a goal, and the game's done. So
exactly.
It's
What
really
I like
impressive
about
what
if they can go forward, they go forward.
Yeah.
They don't like to just keep the possession for the sake of it. So the thing with Jimmy Tillin is, if obviously he wants to have possession, he wants the team to be balanced and all that. But if you have a chance to move it quickly forward, you do it, and you can see the fruits of the work they've done.
You can, because all eyes were on them, but they
Johan,
responded. Michael, go on.
I was going to ask, see when Jimmy Tillin finished second with the Elfsborg on a couple of occasions, traditionally a bit of a smaller club, it's not Malmo or AIK or AIK Stockholm or Gothenburg. Was there a perception as well that did they start quickly and then people think they would fall away, or was it just a slow build all season? Or what was it like, and what was the pressure, and what was the narrative about?
No, not really. I would say, the last year when they finished second, after
it was the last game. The last game.
Exactly.
Right?
They should have won the league the weekend before they played Malmö in the last game, but they failed to beat the already relegated team, and then they lost to a penalty against Malmö in the last game. But the way he's always played, though, he's changed from being very possession-based that he was in the start of his career. Now he likes possession, but most games last season, they had less possession, than the opponents. But they created a lot of golden opportunities, goal chances, because he likes to play it quickly forward, and he's got willing runners in the team. And for me, it looks like he wants to put that identity in Aberdeen as well.
Yeah. Johan, just before you go, I'm not sure how many times you watch this programme when you're not on. I hope you do. But do you know Michael actually knows?
Of course I do.
Michael knows some Swedish, apparently. Michael?
Over to you, Michael. Let's hear it.
No,
Give us your best.
I'll converse with Johan privately at another occasion.
Since he told us, Johan, he knows some Swedish. We've never heard a word of Swedish on the show, so I don't know if we're ever going to hear it. Anyway, big man, thank you very much. Away and get that glass of red wine. Really appreciate your time. We'll see you soon, Johan.
Yeah.
Right, and we've got a lot to get
Great
through.
Guy.
A great
guy.
He really improves this show, by the way. Great.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. Listen, we've got a lot to get through. We've only got a few minutes left. Let's get right into Hibs. Another defeat against St Mirren. St Mirren looking much more like their old selves. Deserve a lot of credit. Stephen Robinson, as you know, signed a contract extension recently. But just for the few minutes we've got here, let's focus on the high Bs. Michael, I think you were talking about class of the club. I think I saw a clip this week. You're talking about class. The players at the moment need to show some class, if you like, and pride in defending, because it's falling apart at times.
Yeah, I mean, it was more in the context of the way that the club's running. Some of the
I know, absolutely. I was just going
to say, and poor decisions that are made off the park that are lacking class. But in terms of on the park, without talking about class, it's just a lack of actual substance. It feels very empty. You know, they're too easy to play against. Defensively, they're all over the shop. And in terms of an attacking side, you instinctively feel, they've got attacking players that can do something.
But when?
Sure. Martin Boyle's coming to the stage of his career where he's waning. Eli Juhan is a liability. Kukarevich was
suspended.
Yeah, he was suspended, but
Boyle's getting older.
But he was a couple of years ago when he was on loan, looked really, lively and like he could do something. This time around, I've not really seen it. But Kieran Bowie looked good.
He did,
but he's been injured.
Yeah.
And you look across the whole team and you're just going, they need to literally recruit a whole new team. A whole new team. And
is the manager getting the best out of them, do you think?
I think that's the big question for now.
No, because
Alan,
he keeps saying it doesn't. He keeps saying that he feels he can do it, and of course, as a manager, you're going to say it absolutely, and you will believe it. But are we seeing it enough? I don't. Is it?
Everything goes against you. By the way, everything goes against you. Goals
Aye.
like that just don't stand. Of course, when you're not.
But that is offside. He is in the way.
Absolutely right decision then. So, Michael, on Alan's question, then what do you think? Because that's the big question right now. The players available to David Gray. Is he getting the best out of this team?
Don't be on the fence. Let's hear a right good answer. Over to you.
This could be a social media clip, Michael. Make it good.
Do you know, it's a difficult one because I've just said to you, I'm not sure about any of the team. I think they need a whole new team.
So can any manager make this team better?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Ultimately, is David Gray the best person to get Hibs out of the position they're in? Probably not. I think a more experienced manager could probably get more out of them, which is the current situation that they find themselves in. And I feel for David Gray because I look at him and I listen and I think, you know what, good guy, talks a lot of sense, doesn't back down from the obvious troubles that are there. But I think, and my concern is that it's such a toxic death spiral that Hibs are in that it's almost been all-consuming, and I'm not sure that a young manager is going to be able to navigate his way out of that.
Do they need to make changes behind the scenes as well?
Like
clearly, other people with experience were brought into this football club, Michael.
Unquestionably. But then you talk about the board at Hibs, and you've got, I'm not going to call them factions, but you've got two, owners. Well, you've got the majority owner and you've got a minority stakeholder who has already spoken about how the majority shareholder doesn't listen to them and they're not really, overly impressed with that. So the messages that are coming out for the club are mixed messages. It's a really worrying time for Hibs in terms of who's going to take control and drive it in the right direction. I don't know, but certainly, the owner, the chief executive have been there for a while, and under their watch, they have basically spent more money for a worse end product. And that is a damning statistic when you look at the wages to turnover ratio, which are now 81%, by the way, 81%, not sustainable. And they have a number of players out of contract who they're not getting transfers for. But that was the theory. Spend, bring these players in, sell
Have they got
them
enough to stay up, Michael?
Not
Jake, within that squad, they've got enough to stay up this season. Because that would be, imagine that. If they were to go down, it'd
be horrendous. Alan, I am genuinely concerned for Hibs for this season. Hibs this season is survival. That's it. If I was connected with Hibs, I would snap your hand off to take 10th right now.
Jeez, that says a lot. The wages, by the way, to turnover ratio in this show are around about 100%. I've just been I sent a message just to confirm that. There's a club who have got a manager who's now doing good things, who they did stick with. Jim Goodwin, Dundee United. Should we move on to a good victory for them against Ross County? Jim Goodwin signed a contract extension this week, Alan, and they seem to be putting it together. They seem to be, for a team that's just come back up, very capable of consistently picking up points. And even when they put youngsters on, like Owen Sturton at the end of this game, and he scores as well, a great moment for him. But they seem to be finding solutions all over the park that, for instance, Hibs don't just now, Alan.
Yeah, well, they believe in Jim Goodwin. They've given him the new contract. As you say rightly, they've just been promoted. you would have probably thought they'd be this far ahead at this moment in time, but I think recruitment's been spot on, and they're playing really well, and you know they're playing with confidence, and you can see that kind of week in, week out. And look, that's a great moment to be on 17, second touch, and it's a goal. I mean, you can just imagine how he's feeling, but they're in such a good place at this moment in time, and yeah, I mean, they're going great guns.
Michael's second touch was putting the ball out for a shy. Is that right, Michael?
I was just about to say, it's better than second touch being a tackle.
Yeah, absolutely.
How's that pointed at?
Well, it must have been me.
The rugby player presented.
Johan's on. It must be me. Listen, Jim Goodwin deserved that new deal, didn't he, Michael? It's all about timing, because we talked about Hearts at the start of the season and Rangers giving their managers new contracts and question marks at that time. But look, they stuck with Jim Goodwin. They've slowly seen how it's developing this season, and then they've probably picked a good moment.
Yeah, I'm delighted for Jim Goodwin, because
good guy.
After Aberdeen, his career's at a bit of a sort of junction there in terms of which way is it going to go. And thankfully for him, he's got another big job that a lot of people are questioning. That is that the right one? Should they be getting Jim Goodwin in? And he's done well. Slowly built them back up. And as Alan said, they've recruited well, changed the system, but they look comfortable, which tells you, Jim Goodwin's got an idea in his head in terms of what he's wanting to do. He's recruited the right players to fit into that system, and they're playing it out. So Dundee United are one of our big clubs, so we want them and need them in the top flight competing. They've been far too much of a yo-yo club over the last decade, and it's good to see a wee bit of stability coming along there.
I love a Dundee derby. He's also chopped and changed formation at times, but it's consistently working as well, which is also a real positive. Motherwell, another team, Alan. I mean, we can talk about their young players that developed, of course, all day long, but another team that looked like they've recruited well over the summer. Several players have come in and made a difference, and they are also picking up plenty of points.
Yeah, of course. Maswanisa, they're just getting the goalies. Is it 3 in the last couple of games in the league? And I think they're doing really well. Stuart Kettlewell's recruited, as you rightly said. Lennon Miller, I thought he was really good in this game when he's sitting in that kind of deeper role and he can see runners and he can find people. So they're going really well. Another great finish. I mean, I think defensively, St Johnstone were poor. I know they've went back to the back four. They used to be the 3. And Valakari now, he's probably looking forward to the international break. I think that's like 3 losses in a run to probably work on them and get them better. But as far as Motherwell are concerned, they'll be really happy the way that the season's went so far and thoroughly, I think, deserve the victory.
Yeah, players like you mentioned Maswanise, but players like Marvin Coletta and others, Michael.
Yeah, how good was he, by the way, at the semi-final?
Fantastic, and he's done it again here. I mean, he's done it again. So Motherwell obviously picking up points. St Johnstone not. Go on, Michael.
I was just going to say, good young Scottish manager.
Yeah.
You think about Stuart Kettlewell and his time that he's been at Motherwell. Lost Kevin Van Veen. And you're thinking, how are they going to, replace that? Finds Theo Bair from St Johnstone, and nobody's thinking, he's going to be able to do them a turn. He does. Loses him and Spittle, and now they're still up there competing, knocking on the door. I know it's early doors, but they're up there competing for the European spots. Stuart Kettlewell, clearly, along the same lines of what I'm saying about Jim Goodwin, he's got an idea in his head, and he's able to articulate it across to the players to get that clarity of message that they're able to, play it out. So credit to him, because he gets bulleted for Ross County a few years ago, young manager at the time, and you're thinking to yourself, is there a way still back into it for him? He gets the Motherwell job, and credit to him, he's doing a great job.
Great job. Magnificent hairline as well, by the way. I have to tell you, absolutely magnificent. And you need another 10p because the meter's running out there, Michael. All right, you froze a couple of times, which means surely time is up. I've just realised that Ben, producer Ben, just texted me 10 minutes ago saying wrap it up. So
let's just keep it going just for banter and see what happens.
Obviously, I didn't see that message. What are we going to do if we hit an hour, mate? There'll never be a slot to get this on the telly. Anyway, we're out of time. Listen, I was going to talk Scotland. Fingers crossed. We've got Croatia and Poland. Lewandowski's out. Fingers crossed we're talking about a better Scotland performance and a better Scotland result, if you like. Next time round, we'll get a couple of points on the board, maybe get us off bottom place. That would be good moving forward. Right, Alan, you ready for an international break? Because I believe we're off next Monday.
Yep. So chill out time, watch the Scotland games, looking forward to it, hopefully for a good result.
Yes, fingers crossed. Michael, thank you very much. Alan, thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.
The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you by McBookie.com. Take a lookie at McBookie today.